everyone, Wayne Motts, the President Emeritus and Historian of the Gettysburg Foundation, for another great episode of Wall of Faces, Casualties at Gettysburg. As you know, we feature one Union and one Confederate soldier roughly on the same part of the battlefield who are featured with their likenesses in the American Museum of the Civil War, which is inside the Visitor Center at the Gettysburg National Military Park. There are 280 Confederate faces there and 280 Union faces there, and we're out on the battlefield today to talk about just one casualty for the Union Army and one casualty for the Confederate Army at this part of the battlefield. Now behind me is the famed Rose Farm. We're on the Stony Hill on the second day of the Battle of Gettysburg at the edge of the Wheatfield, and today we're going to talk about Elijah R. Emick, or Amick, depending on how you look at the Civil War records. The records have Amick with an A, Tombstone, and most of the census records have it as an E. So Elijah Amick was in Company C of the 15th South Carolina Infantry Regiment in the Battle of Gettysburg. This would be part of Joseph Kershaw's brigade fighting on July 2nd, 1863, right over here behind where I'm located. It gets moved down to the right or south. It's further than most of Kershaw's brigade here in the fighting of the Battle of Gettysburg up along where the Stony Hill is located. Unfortunately for young Emick, he gets shot in the upper third of his thigh while he's fighting over here behind me on July 2nd, 1863. Gets taken to a field hospital, goes eventually to Camp Letterman, and he's out there in July of 1863 at the end of the month, and he dies of this wound on September 6th, 1863. His body is at the Camp Letterman Cemetery until 1866, when at least until 1866. It's removed apparently during the general removals of bodies in the early 1870s. And today, Elijah Emick's body rests at the Magnolia Cemetery in Charleston, South Carolina. He's a native of Lexington, South Carolina. He was a farmhand during the time of the battle. We don't know a lot about him, but he's probably born around 1844. Mortally wounded here in the Battle of Gettysburg on July 2nd, a member of Kershaw's brigade. Now, one of the men going up against him, actually the man leading these troops up against this brigade on July 2nd, is Samuel K. Zook, one of the 10 generals killed or mortally wounded in the Battle of Gettysburg, and he will be the Union counterpart today to Elijah Emick in the 15th South Carolina. And now we're going to talk about the Union counterpart. We're at the memorial nearby where this officer was mortally wounded in the Battle of Gettysburg, and that is Pennsylvania General Samuel K. Zook. General Zook, one of the 10 generals killed or mortally wounded here in the Battle of Gettysburg on the north edge of the Wheatfield near the Wheatfield Road. And this is a very early monument. This memorial was put up July 25th, 1882. All the early memorials here at Gettysburg were put up to commemorate where men fell, where they died. The two earliest, Colonel Fred Taylor and Colonel Strong Vinson, that were both put up on the battlefield in 1878. This one put up in 1882. So the early memorials to mark where somebody fell. And that's the case here with General Samuel K. Zook. Now, General Zook was born March 27th, 1821, at least according to two sources. But I think he's probably born March 27th, 1822, which is the family genealogy. He's the eldest of 9 children. His tombstone said he was 41 when he was killed. The New York papers say he was 41 years old, and that will make him born in 1822. He was born in Chester County, Pennsylvania, in eastern Pennsylvania, but he's most associated with Montgomery County or Norristown, Pennsylvania. He had early school education, and when the Civil War broke out, he was a longtime militia officer, and he got a commission as the colonel of the 57th New York Volunteer Infantry Regiment. Now, at the Battle of Gettysburg, he will be wearing a Brigadier General star, and he'll command the brigade here, the 3rd Brigade of the 1st Division of the 2nd Corps, which is the brigade under his command, mostly of New York regiments. And this will be in John Curtis Cogwell's division of the 2nd Union Army Corps. These men are coming in into the Wheatfield to face off and go against Kershaw's men 15th South Carolina being at the far right end of this line that we just talked about. So as General Zook is riding here, he has two aides that are close by to him, Joseph Favell and Charles H. Broome, and he's shot in the abdomen. According to the accounts, the bullet lodges near his spine, and Broome catches him, tries to get him off the battlefield. And according to Broome, as he's taking him off the battlefield, General Zook knows that he's probably going to die because of the wound. He says it's all up with him. That was reportedly one of the last things he said. He's taken to a hospital along the Baltimore Pike. The G. Fleming Hoke Toll House still stands on the Baltimore Pike, and he's kept there on July 2nd. And then because of the artillery fire, he's moved on July 3rd about a mile south of the Baltimore Pike, where he will succumb to his wounds on July 3rd, 1863. His body will be taken to Port Kennedy, Pennsylvania. That's where his father is located. It will go to New York City. He'll have a funeral. It'll be held in a vault in Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, New York. But the body will eventually be taken to his native Norristown, Pennsylvania. When he has his funeral service in New York City, there are several famous officers that are his pallbearers, including Thomas Francis Marhar, the famed general of the Irish Brigade, and guess what? The future President of the United States, Chester A. Arthur, is a pallbearer for Samuel K. Zook, who dies here in the Battle of Gettysburg, and also Robert Nugent, who was the commanding officer in the War of the 69th New York of the famed Irish Brigade. Zook's body taken from a vault in Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, New York, and then taken to Norristown, Pennsylvania, probably in early 1864, where it is eventually laid to rest in the Norristown Cemetery. In that same cemetery, you have Winfield Scott Hancock and General Hartranft, who became governor of Pennsylvania as well, and Adam Slimmer, also a general officer in the Civil War, in the cemetery at Norristown, Pennsylvania. Samuel K. Zook, mortally wounded July 2nd, 1863, in the Battle of Gettysburg, in the 2nd Union Army Corps, attacking the troops of Joseph Kershaw's South Carolina Brigade, and our Confederate counterpart, Elijah Emmerich, in the 15th South Carolina Infantry Regiment. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Wall of Faces, Casualties at Gettysburg. Please like, share, and follow us on these social media channels, and thanks for your support.